That post is way too long while it's uploading, so I might as well do a really short one. I'm going to make this short. So, okay, number one, my mother moved to Tamworth. We never had friends or family from there. And I'll tell you exactly what happened in 1989. She went there for a weekend getaway. Okay, they read about it. Her and her newly married second husband, who she just married in 1988, they went there for a weekend getaway. She loved it. She had the horse study in Sydney, near Parramatta. She got everything from the divorce. My father's Mark Flemming, not Mark Rackley. Now, if anyone ever knew me, if any person had ever met me and they know me, they would not be sitting there going, "Oh, it's Justin Rackley." You wouldn't. Okay, you wouldn't. Because if you ever had a conversation with me in your entire life, then you must be a fuckwit to say Rackley. So, okay, pin it for a sec. So, mum had a horse study in Sydney. Mum's parents are from the city. Lola's from Leichhardt. My grandmother Lola's from Leichhardt. Her nephew still lives there. Brian Keegan, I catch up with at a Strawberry Hotel a lot. It's mum's cousin. Brian Keegan's my nan's brother's son. He's a retired police officer, still lives there in the same area in Leichhardt that all the family's from. Mum's father, Reg Purdy, is from Balmain Roselle. Dad's father, my dad's Mark Flemming, a builder, not Mark Rackley, and we're not from Tamworth, we're from Sydney. Dad's father, Stanley Fleming's from Botany Bay, but he's not born in Australia. That's why we all look ethnic. Okay, I do have naturally dark brown, near black hair and black features and ethnic features. So does all the Flemings. We look like wogs for a reason. And it comes from Stanley Fleming. It also comes from Ada Gray, Dad's grandmother, on his mother's side. That's the reason. Ada Gray is the one that looks Jewish. So, you've got Stanley Fleming from Botany Bay. Ruby Jean Hill, Dad's mother, is from Abbotsford. She's born in Five Dock. I'm not a Rackley. Okay? Never been a Rackley. Not related to the Rackleys. The half-caste piece of shit that I've got as a half-sister, we're related for our mother's side, not her father's side. Okay? Simple factor. If you had ever met me, so my mum decided to move. Alright, so I went up for, to experience a different lifestyle. I like New England. Don't mind it. I thought it was actually really nice. When I was there, I like the town centre, the city centre, you call it. Or Tamworth. I thought it was great. Mum's got a big property there. We had a big property in Sydney. So the acres of land we had in Sydney was developed, and it's all low income housing now. It's disgusting. Honestly, where I'm born and raised in the suburbs of Sydney, we owned I had a house, landscape gardens, swimming pool, horse stud, stables, but so did everybody around us. It was like living in Dural. But what happened was it was one of the closest areas to the city, and there was main train stations all around it. So you actually had, we had Parramatta train station, Blacktown train station, and Rooty Hill train station. And it was all these plots of land that the government wanted to build low-income housing because it was right near a direct line into the city. Places like Dural don't have a direct train line into the city. So this is exactly what happened. I'm glad Mum moved because you could see the change starting to happen. Mum's like, "Oh, we're gonna sell before the government asks us for the land." So I'm glad she moved because it's lovely. Where my mum lives is actually really beautiful, and it used to be beautiful in that suburban area. But I saw what this progress that the government loves to brainwash people into. I saw what happened. I saw the ghetto change of the suburbs of Sydney. So this is why I support Pauline Hanson, why I've always supported Pauline Hanson, because Pauline Hanson spoke to the truth. So since 1997, I've been a Pauline Hanson supporter. I've never supported the Greens. And the simple fact is what Pauline Hanson said was the truth and everyone called it race. I'm like, wait a minute, I lived in the suburbs. What she said was the truth because that's where I lived. We owned land there and I saw exactly what Pauline Hanson was telling people. This is what's happening. I'm like, I lived through that. I lived through it. I saw what happened. So, I saw that happening in the suburbs of Sydney. So we weren't too far from Parramatta. We had acres of land, a nice big house that Dad restored and extended. Dad, Mark Flemming, and beautiful, split level backyard, landscape gardens. Oh, Mum whinges about the swimming pool not being adequate to what she wanted. It's like, yeah, but you were teenagers, Anyway. It got sold to developers. Simple. So the place next door did a place across the road. The place next door, I was like only a kid. I don't really remember when that was all knocked down and they were getting built, but I remember when across the road was. And you saw one house go, one house with land and people that had horses across the road and a beautiful big house. You saw that get demolished, and then you saw 30 houses be put in its place. And what you saw was low socioeconomic people. So there goes one person that had, horses, that could afford horses and thoroughbreds and so forth. And now you've got people that, couldn't even afford a car living across the road from us. 30 of them, like 30 families of them. So you went from one affluent family to 30. You could see that changing quickly. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to say this area is going to turn ghetto really fucking quickly. We're going. And it did. The suburbs of Sydney turned ghetto really quickly. It's disgusting. It's fucking foul, the suburbs. That's why even my dad's sister and her husband couldn't wait to get out of Parramatta area. They moved in 2015 down to Bowral. So my Auntie Linda, they're from Maryland, Auntie Linda, Uncle Tony, cousin Christy Saruni, all of them. They all moved from the Parramatta area and went down near Bowral in 2015 because I'm glad they fucking did. I'd say Bowral's only where they live is only about an hour 10 away. It's disgusting. It's a ghetto. Fucking the suburbs. Like where I'm born, it's foul. It wasn't foul then. I'd never freaking lived there. Now I couldn't wait for my grandmother to move. I even said to my grandmother in 2004, either you move into the city or you move up to where mum is, because I can't keep coming back here. I hate it. And I was like, what? Justin, when I moved here, it was this, it was that. I'm like, yeah, no, when you moved here it was 1962. It was 1962. It changed. And I was like, oh, thank fucking God, Nan moved. Oh, God, she moved in 2005, and it was like, oh, thank God, because this was so stressful. Like, honestly, the fact that Nan was staying in the house where they moved from the city to the suburbs, and she wanted to stay in this house, it's like, this is so stressful. Like, even, I remember having a conversation with Mum about it, and Mum's like, should I talk to him? Like, talk to Nan. It was stressful. It was so stressful to go out to the suburbs to see my grandmother, like, where, and it's like, oh, and I was like, yes, but Justin, when we moved here, oh, you don't know, the city was a slum. You loved the city, Justin, but the city was a slum. It was this, it was that, and moving here meant you were somebody, and it had air conditioning, it had, everything was in like a shopping centre. They'd never had that in the city. It's like, yes, Nan, yes, but that was the 60s. It's changed. Like, my nan did, and she was still there. It's like, but that was the 60s, Nan. I was literally telling her, because I'm like, I've got to be back in the city. I can't live here. I could not live in the suburbs of Sydney. It's foul. It's vile. It's vile. It's disgusting. So we're originally from is the suburbs of Sydney, but we had land. Very different to what it looks like now. Now it's disgusting. So Mum sold and moved us in April 1989. She bought in a beautiful street, in a beautiful area, 10 minutes from the city centre. Now, like I said, in Sydney, where we had the land, you've got Parramatta train station, Blacktown train station, and just a stroll down the road, like 1 minute walk, was Rooty Hill train station. You had main train lines into the city. So they brought all this land off people, or pretty much gave them next to nothing when the government took it, and they created low socioeconomic because they built areas for poor people, much like the poor people that live around here. And that's what they did. They created this disgusting environment. It's foul. It's so foul. Like, I can tell you what it was. It's like, but don't say, oh, you can't move on, let go. I'm like, yeah, what it was, I'm telling you, the memory of it, it was absolutely beautiful. But I lived through the change in the late 80s. You couldn't be more grateful than the thing. Could you imagine if we didn't sell and move? We would have been the only ones there. We would have been boxed in, and we're the only ones there left with land. And there would be no people involved in, there would be no affluent people. We'd have been surrounded by ghettos. We'd have been literally surrounded by poor people. Because everyone moved. Everyone that was originally in that area, they left. They're gone. There's no original people from that area. They left. They left and went to down south or New England. Some went down to Bowral and Picton. Some went to Wollongong. Some went past Wollongong where there's horse studs there. Some went up to, I don't know where Bill, oh, they're dead now. Bill and Fran. Okay, they're originally from there. They were in the showing industry, the horse industry. They're originally from Rooty Hill. They probably passed on. Now I remember them dearly. I went to Brisbane Roll with them when I was a teenager. So Bill Friend and Fran Friend were from Rooty Hill. They had a horse stud there. So we're talking about old school people that have beautiful big homes, landscape gardens, stable. It was lovely. It was lovely then. Christ almighty. But that was then. We're talking about a time when you were, like, if you lived in Habitfield, you were low life crap. Like, you were trash. If you lived, like, we're talking about a time when the city was really slums and it did a turnaround. So anyway, so Mum still won the horse industry, so she went up to New England. Good. It's beautiful. So I went to high school there. Now, I went there from April 1989 to 1995 and I moved back under Sydney. I was on at Empire Bay, but I lived most of my life in the city. Remember that just because my nan and pop were in the suburbs, and I was born in the suburbs, all the families from this inner city, they were still in the inner city when I was growing up. Okay, I spent a lot of time with family members in the inner city growing up. Now, in New England, in Tamworth, if someone met me and you could, okay, fine. Now Alan, you're not going to say, okay, if Alan Tung made a mistake, now Alan Tung, he would not stand there and say, I knew him was Rackley. No, Alan Tung used to call me Jay. And actually, so did Peter Nelson. So no, you're not going to sit there and say, oh, I knew you as Rackley. But I will forgive, I'll tell you what, there's a group of people I'll forgive, they go, oh, I didn't know Jay. That's okay. You did, but yous were kids. So my mum just remarried. She moved there, so Mum's name went from, her maiden name's Purdy, her first husband's Flemming, so it went from Flemming to Rackley, okay? So it's Carol Rackley, you've got Mark Rackley, and my father's Mark Flemming. So, okay, I understand it's confusing, but I corrected people. I was raised to correct people, and I've always been raised to be polite. And I'll be like, no, my surname's Flemming. Mum's just remarried before moving here. Mark Rackley's not our father, Mark Flemming is. We've got a different surname to our mother. Now, I did correct people. Now, if people like Alan Tung, like if he's there going, but I thought his name was Rackley, I'll forgive Alan Tung. I only went to school with him for 2.5 years. I would forgive him because I hadn't really seen him since he went to Farrow High School when he go to Farrow High? Was that in 1992 or something? I haven't seen him since. I had no idea he played for Canberra Raiders. To one of my family members was telling me. But, you can forgive that. But I was like, no, Al, man, you used to call me Jay. You called me Jay. Peter Nelson called me Jay. You all call me Jay. And Shane Hart never called me Rackley. Shane Hart knew that I was Flemming. Because everyone called me Flemming. Like, once I started high school, it was definitely known that my surname was Flemming. And there was anyone who was a friend of mine they knew. Because most people looked at my mum's second husband and was like, oh, that's Justin's stepfather. That's not his father, and they hated him. Most people, they looked at him like, and like fucking, they couldn't stand him. Anyone that look at mum would be like, oh, that's not our father, that's our stepfather. The deadbeat loser that lives off mum. Yeah, it's our stepfather. Everybody knew Mark Rackley was our stepfather. Everyone who met me knew that my surname was Flemming. And I can tell you now, Lorraine Riggs when was it? 1996. So there you go. Lorraine Riggsy, and so Leon Riggs's sister met my father, Mark Flemming, because Mark Flemming, the company he worked for in Sydney building, which he built the inside of Westwood shopping complexes, Haymarket and so forth, that company, that building company was contracted to build the extension on Farrow High School down O'Brien's Lane. So he was up there building, and what happened? But anyway, for some strange reason, my dad went out partying with him or something and ended up being at mum's sister's house. Something, I don't know. Like, I'm studying at Newcastle in art school. I'm studying fine arts there, the Art Annex, TAFE College, and I go up there. I didn't even know Dad was there. I go up for a weekend holiday. I walk into mum's house and mum and dad's in the kitchen. I'm like, what are you doing here? It's like, well, I can't be here. It was actually really sweet. It was really cute. I was like, what are you doing here, Dad? Like, so Dad was at Mum's house. So Dad, Mark Flemming, was at my mum's house in night. And I'm there. I'm home at my, because I'm living at my dad's house in Empire Bay. And I lock up Dad's and I'm like, oh, no one's here. Like, so I'm like, oh, I was off school for a couple of days. I'm like, I'll go up to Tamworth, see Mum. So I called, like, literally get into Mum's and I'm like, Dad's there. So what are you doing here? Like, it was really funny anyway. Yeah, so Dad was up there building then. And he also did the refurbishment of Grace Brothers in Peel Street. And I think any other buildings up there that he built? So at least I can walk around going, my dad built that, like a spot little brat, like I used to. Walk past the Palace Hotel in Haymarket and go, my dad restored that and extended that. He did the refurbishment and he built that inside the area there where all the food court is. That was in the 90s. So, yeah. So anyone who knew me knew that I'm a Flemming, not a Rackley. So people that go, oh, it's Justin Rackley, it's like, you didn't know me. Because you were told enough. You don't, and people from high school never, it's in my year 10 yearbook. No one knew me as Rackley, and this is where the problem started. So I've literally had people say, oh, his name's Rackley, not Flemming. It's like, well, hang on, then this is not coming from people who knew me. And I can prove this because people who knew me actually wrote Justin Flemming, wrote me, people who I had friends with. It's like, okay, so who's doing this? And when they started doing this 11 years ago, I literally had the information to do with Daniel Rackley, because Daniel Rackley lived in Tamworth as well, attached to me. So Daniel Rackley had suicide attempts, drug use, and alcoholism, and mental health issues, and fuck me dead. So then what it was like, oh, personality disorder. It's like, it's not personality disorder. You're describing Daniel Rackley. Daniel Rackley's Mark Rackley's son. That's who you're describing. Now, I told Mum this back in 2017. I told her that a mental health organisation believed I was Daniel Rackley. They believed, oh, here's the thing. So they believed that my favourite football team was the Dragons, because that's what they were told. They believed that it was the Dragons and I had always been involved in drugs and alcohol because my father was involved in drugs and alcohol. And that my father was a nurse. Now, I had this discussion in 2018 with some deadbeat mental health worker who came into my area in Forbes Street and started harassing me. And he's like, so this is talking about, and I was like, I don't follow football. And there was like, well, personality disorder, because all these people were like, well, he always followed rugby league when he was young. His favourite football team's the Dragons. I'm like, mine's not. I've never followed rugby league. I'm a soccer player. I've always played soccer and rode horses. I was since a little kid I played soccer. And I don't go for the Dragons. That's what Mark and Daniel Rackley go for. And that's where it all came from. That's the truth. And this is where the crap was like, oh, he uses drugs, he's high, or he's bisexual. It's like, no, I'm not. And now I've had a gutful. It's been 11 years. And that's why I've disowned my family. That's why I've disowned my twin sister. It's like, no, you gave me that Liga team because every statement I've just made there's the truth. Thanks very much. And I still get accused of using drugs. It's like, I don't use drugs. Okay? I want to see, when these documents come back from the Freedom of Information to the Housing Commission, I'm not having anything to do with Housing Commission things. I wish Dad would say, come and stay at Empire Bay. It's like, no thanks, mate. I want to see you in court for making false statements. Okay, your mouthy piece of shit, low-life scumbag of a Housing Commission, I want to see you get charged for its reckless endangerment. I've just had shit in 2 countries. I lost my fucking permanent residence status because you're there saying I'm the behaviour of the Rackleys. Yeah, I'm not a Rackley. And New South Wales Police did that. I'm not backing down. You can keep arresting me. You can keep going through whatever you want to do, but I won't be backing down. Okay, you're a corrupt criminal piece of cunt organisation that's getting paid by taxpayers, and I want to see you fucking dealt with. I want an investigation into it. I'm not going to sit back and let these scumbags make up stories. Rackleys, are heavily involved in cannabis and drugs. I'm not a Rackley. Okay? It's that simple. And I won't be putting up with it. Ever. And I'm not going to be a smart ass like I was after I found out wrong information. I was being a smart ass back from 2016 to 2018. And as for Deb Mears and Michael Long, watch your fucking back. You're next. You come at me with information to do with the Rackleys. I'm not a Rackley. which makes me then wonder, what scam did my mother do? So obviously my mother's done a scam, and if my twin sister sticks by her, so what scam did Carol do this time to protect the Rackleys? Because you can't tell me that I'm sitting back going, okay, all the information relates to Daniel and this person and so forth. So yeah, you want to keep it up? I'll be changing. We'll be speaking to a solicitor tomorrow and changing maybe what we're going to do moving ahead, because I don't think that's the good advice that I was given. Because I think that the best advice is that everything I've just stated goes to court and gets said, because this rubbish that I've just had for 11 years is because of, and it's going to keep continuing. I'm going to have an organisation keep projecting the Rackley's issues onto me. I'm going to have the same trouble that I've had for the last 11 years since 2015. I'm going to have the same people, groups and organisations. I'm going to have deadbeat druggos. I'm going to have the same shit like I've just had for... Oh, by the way, I sent to Bree fucking Pascoe, you lesbian little cunt, police officer. That's Daniel Rackley's Facebook, not mine, you idiot. Fucking Amory Thompson, who I can't fucking stand, the deadbeat that my twin married. The fucking loser. I can't stand Amory Thompson. Never went to school with him. That was Daniel Rackley's. All these idiots that go, but that's Justin. No, that's not a photo of me. That's Daniel Rackley and Daniel Rackley's daughter. Daniel Rackley's daughter looks exactly like Faith Rackley. You're looking at Daniel Rackley. So if you're saying I look like Daniel Rackley, then I've put on too much weight. Daniel Rackley's my ex-stepbrother. That's the Facebook that you fucking looked at. I'll show you my Facebook, thanks. I'll show you photos of me, and I'll show you photos of Daniel. And this will go much further than it ever needed to be, why these people, groups and organisations don't start realising you're wrong, correcting the lies, and you can pay me the fucking damages, thanks.